Child stars in Hollywood have long been treated poorly by the film and TV industry. Fortunately, in modern times, they've started to be treated a little bit better, but it isn't always all it's cracked up to be, especially for Disney stars, apparently. In this video, we'll take a look at how old Hollywood child stars were treated terribly behind the scenes. The birth of the star system. Before we go further, we want to warn you that throughout this video, we'll discuss some rather heavy material. If talk of eating disorders, sexual assault, and drug abuse is too much, you might want to check out a different video instead. Today's celebrities get paid a lot better than their early 20th century counterparts. They're also given far more autonomy than they used to. In the early days, actors faced a great deal of stigma. They were ashamed to be seen in films. Movies were seen as lowbrow diversions, while the theater was seen as being the respected art of the wealthier class. Back then, there weren't really movie stars as we know them today. No one knew the names of the people on the big screen, but that all changed when a producer named Carl Laemmle intentionally spread a rumor that actress Florence Lawrence had been tragically killed in a streetcar accident. Not long after, Laemmle corrected the rumor while announcing that Lawrence would be appearing in one of his upcoming films. And just like that, he had promoted the very first movie star. In the years following, Hollywood's star system took shape. This was the process of Hollywood studios discovering, creating, and exploiting actors and actresses for profit. They would essentially pluck people from obscurity and turn them into internationally famous stars. In the process, they would gain control of every aspect of their lives. In the 20s, studios would send talent scouts to spot promising young talent. They would then recruit and slap them with contracts for years of work. The major studios would invent elaborate backstories for these stars to make them seem more exciting to press and filmgoers. They would basically formulate roles that would define them for a lifetime. They would even change their names. For example, MGM once held a contest to let the public cast votes on selecting Joan Crawford's name. Joan ended up hating the name she was given, thinking it sounded too much like crawfish, but that didn't matter to any of the studio brass. To them, she was a moneymaker. Child actors were treated like garbage. Take Judy Garland, for example. Studio execs once referred to the Wizard of Oz star as a fat little pig in pigtails. Garland was reportedly just 14 at the time. All she wanted was to be a movie star, but she was torn apart for her looks. After signing with MGM, she was put on a restrictive diet. Whenever she would reach for a plate of food, someone was always there to snatch it from her. Whenever she snuck away to enjoy a snack on set, execs would inform each other about her strict diet through internal memos and make sure she didn't do it again. When she was 18, she was encouraged to smoke as many as 80 cigarettes a day to avoid food cravings. She was even forced to pop amphetamines to keep her awake and curtail her appetite. This not only led to her developing a nasty eating disorder and drug addiction, but it also likely contributed to her eventual death. MGM fed Garland and Mickey Rooney a steady supply of drugs. While Judy Garland worked with MGM, so did actor Mickey Rooney. These two child stars were frequently paired up on screen, but beneath their happy-go-lucky veneer was a deep, dark secret. To keep them performing at their peak, the studio fed them a constant supply of pills. While they were on set, when they would work days and nights on end, the two stars were given stimulants to keep them on their feet. At the end of the day, they'd be taken to the studio hospital where they'd be knocked out with sleeping pills. After 4 hours, they'd wake them back up again, feed them more uppers, and force them to work another 72-hour shift. We're excited to have Tiege Hanley as the sponsor of today's video. They've helped me start and maintain my skincare routine by making the entire process uncomplicated. Honestly, it's the best skincare system for any guy who wants healthier skin. I recommend you start with their Level 1 system, which comes with all the basics, including a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin, a 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of dead skin cells, an AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun, and a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. My favorite part about Tiege Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. Their products have made my skin look and feel better than ever. But you don't just have to take my word for it. They have over 5,000 5-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers around the world. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tiege Hanley get tons of benefits. including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, pause or cancel at any time, and free U.S. shipping or low-cost shipping to most other countries. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click the first link in the description and you'll get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. Don't miss out on this amazing deal. Click that link and get started today. Don't forget to check out Tiege Hanley by clicking the link in the description of the video. Natalie Wood was sexually assaulted by a famous movie star. When she was 16, Natalie Wood was repeatedly raped by a superstar who claimed he'd be able to help her land more mature film roles. According to one of Wood's biographers, the actress long contended that the actor in question took her as his sexual hostage during this troubling encounter. Wood was apparently lured to the actor's hotel room under the pretense of it being an audition. While the identity of her attacker has never been known for certain, it's long been rumored it was Kirk Douglas. Shirley Temple was just 12 when she was nearly assaulted. As producer of hits like Wizard of Oz and Singing in the Rain, Arthur Freed was one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. Shirley Temple was arguably the most famous child actor of her day, but at age 12 in 1941, she wanted to transition into more grown-up roles. She had a meeting with Freed, who promised her he could make that happen. Little did she know when she stepped into his office, Freed had other things in mind. When she entered, he unzipped his pants and exposed himself to the prepubescent star. Frightened and undoubtedly filled with anxiety, she started to nervously laugh. This enraged Freed and likely saved her from experiencing a much more traumatic experience. Freed screamed at Temple to get out of his office. She followed his instructions and hightailed it out. Tommy Kirk was fired after he was outed as being gay. In the 1950s and 60s, Tommy Kirk was one of the most prolific child actors of his day. He was one of Disney's biggest stars, but behind the scenes he was far from happy. In a 1993 interview, he revealed he always knew he was gay, but had no way of expressing his feelings. It wasn't until the early 60s he began to hear of spots where other LGBTQ people like himself congregated. At one of these places, he met a 15-year-old boy whom he started dating. But when Walt Disney learned of the relationship, Kirk was abruptly fired. The two were outed when they were caught hooking up at a public pool in Burbank. They were both young at the time, and the other boy's mother decided she should go straight to Walt to tell him what Kirk was up to. Judy Garland was sexually assaulted on the Wizard of Oz set. The sheer number of terrible things that happened to Judy Garland in the early days of her career are shocking. While still a teenager during the filming of Wizard of Oz, she was repeatedly groped on set by some of the actors playing the Munchkins. Her third husband, film producer Sid Luft, later documented some of the abuse she was subjected to in a memoir. He revealed actors who assaulted her thought they could get away with anything because of their height. They apparently did everything they could to make her life miserable, even to the point of putting their hands under her dress. While Garland was a teen, the men who touched her were all in their 40s and 50s. Bobby Driscoll was given the axe for having acne. In the 1950s, Bobby Driscoll was a popular child star who appeared in dozens of successful films. He even won a Juvenile Academy Award at one point. He was the first actor Walt Disney ever put under contract. By the mid-50s, however, Driscoll was beginning to lose his boyish charm. He was growing up, which might as well be a mortal sin for a child star. Even though he had just signed an extension, Driscoll was fired by Disney and his contract was abruptly canceled. The reason was he developed a fairly serious case of acne. The studio claimed it was impossible to cover it up with makeup, and apparently this was reason enough for them to fire him. Driscoll ended up drifting for the remainder of his life. He became addicted to drugs and died broke and alone at age 31. No one claimed his body, and he was buried in an unmarked grave. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these child star experiences was the most surprising to hear about? Let us know in the comments section below.